Thank you guys for joining the 6th episode of the Take a Charge podcast. I'm here with Coach McLaughlin of Bucks County. Coach McLaughlin is the head coach of Bucks County, and he was formerly the head coach of Belmont Charter High School, Philly Pride. He was an assistant at both Cabrini and IUP, where he was also a student manager, and he is also a West Philly native and a Sayre alum as well. So, Coach, thank you again for being here.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Absolutely. So we just want to get started with your upbringing. So if you could just walk us through your background. Again, we mentioned that you're a West Philly native, so just walk us through your background.
Yeah, so I'm from West Philly. Spent the majority of my life there. I was born in New York, in the Bronx, New York. My dad from Brooklyn, my mom from the Bronx. And then we moved to Philly, to West Philly, primarily 60th Street in the Cobbs Creek area. Just kind of grew up like the normal kid in the inner city. Always had loved basketball, started really loving basketball at like as early as I can remember, like age 3 and 4. I remember watching like Michael Jordan, Grant Hill, Shaquille O'Neal, and just really falling in love with the NBA. And then right around when I went to like kindergarten, the Sixers drafted Iverson. So then like that began like a big basketball craze in the city of Philly. And just growing up, playing on playgrounds, playing in rec centers, Christie Recreational Center, Cobbs Creek Recreational Center, 63rd Street, 63rd and Cobbs Creek Park, 61st Street Concernment of Cobbs Creek Basketball League. But just growing up in Philly is not really, especially in West Philly, it's not really a place for the weak, and it's also just not a place that you're going to go through like unscathed. So I experienced some tragedy, like I experienced losing my brother to gun violence in high school, like my first year in high school, So now I'm just trying to pretty much just help young men and also honor like my brother and his legacy, and just kind of just shine a light on that. Like even though, we come from where we come from, you can still make positive of your life and then have influences on people, because I just don't want other people to kind of go down certain paths and experience certain things like that. So I'm always just trying to mentor young men, and I feel like these interactions that we make could be beneficial to young men, and also just doing my part to kind of make the world a little better. But yeah, I just kind of use basketball as a tool for that.
I want to go back to you mentioning the passing of your brother. And so first, was your brother older or younger?
He was older than me, so I was 15 years old, freshman in high school. He was 20, fresh out of high school. He did things young in terms of like starting a family, so he had 2 kids at this time.
Right.
So that kind of took place. It's actually coming up on the anniversary, so it's coming up 17 years now. Right. So that was, because I'm 32, I was 15, yeah.
It seems like a very mature mindset to move forward and think like, I'm gonna, protect his legacy and honor his legacy and keep that going. How immediate was that, or was the response like anger at first? How are you dealing with that to eventually get to that point of maturity?
It was mixed emotions, but I also was kind of, I guess, living my life as a teenager too. So I was kind of just trying to stay focused on whether it was school and trying to do what I had to do in terms of keep my grades together, playing sports, working, all those things. So I think as I thought about those things over the year past, like this was the big moment for me, right, in terms of being a pivotal moment in my life. So I think when, especially young people, when you have these big moments, I guess what happens is like a process of figuring that out. Yeah. And also as you take in life, as life happens, you kind of, basically every single thing that you kind of deal with always comes back to these moments, especially if it's like traumatic. So you'll see that show up in the workplace, or how you deal with people, or how you go about networking. So I think everything I was doing, whether that was working, playing sports, learning sports, I always wanted to think about how it came back to that moment and what that meant, and then also always just wanted to honor him. A big part of my mindset is my faith in God too. So with that, going through that tragedy, having faith in God and just keeping that at the forefront also helped me want to do things more in a positive way, because you think like how I'm growing up, you think something happens that you want to get revenge or you want to
Yeah.
kind of shut down or become this hard ass. But I think just kind of wanting to do things to the glory of God and honor my faith and honor my brother and my family, I think those things kind of helped me develop that mindset.
So now transitioning back into your playing experience. So you mentioned that you were a 3-year varsity player at Sayre. What type of player were you?
I think everybody know like that I was a defensive player. Like there's no secret. Like people I grew up with, people very early on to like middle school, like 12, 13. It was like if I was on a team, I was either guarding the other team's best player or their best ball handler. And it was a thing like, I don't know, like those, and in Philly and just in the neighborhood, you play against some talented people. But those dudes, they didn't want to see me guarding them. I'm not even lying. Sometimes I get out there with my players and some of the stuff I'm doing defensively, just kind of understanding fundamentals, how to move, how understanding angles, different stuff. Just kind of understanding all those things. I just was really good on defense, and then with my motor too, like I would hustle and stuff like that. Offensively, my game was more like a slasher, just moving off the ball, getting into the right spots. I was a little more athletic, so I can attack the rim ferociously. So that was kind of like my game, kind of like that glue guy, utility player, and then a defensive stopper.
Yeah. Did you want to play in college?
Yeah, I did. I had some interest and was talking to a couple of D3 coaches. York College was one of them. University of Pittsburgh at Bradford was another one I could remember. Trying to think. And then there was like, I could have possibly went JUCO, but it was just kind of, I had the scholarship, like I had secured an academic scholarship early on in my senior year. So it was just kind of like me playing my senior year, finally getting a lot of time, and then seeing if I could like turn that into something, but going D3 or what have you would have to pay. And so it was just kind of comparing like, financial aid packages and trying to set myself up for the future.
Right.
And then, you're just so naive. You think, oh, like, it's Division II, you probably could walk on. But I get there and like every guy is like tall, strong, quick. And that's the thing about like this game. And like some of these guys, like even on that team, some of like the end of the bench type of guys or scout team type of guys, they would go into like any rec center and probably kill or show up certain places in any city and like just kill. Also, just kind of like not knowing like what going to one of those schools would bring, like either or, like that journey of being a player. So I think that kind of helped me make my decision, I guess, and also just having a scholarship. Like IUP is a state school, one of the bigger schools. Is even though it's out west, people might not know it has like a good population of people that's from Philly. So it was kind of like a place where I kind of felt at home.
You go to IUP, and it seemed pretty clear that you wanted to coach from your major, right? So you were a sports management major.
Yeah, I was. So I wanted to be a sports management major since I was in like 6th grade. So you know how they ask you like which one to be when you grow up. So like the first thing I ever wanted to like obviously everybody wants to make it to the NBA. Once I thought about like getting a real job, the first thing I ever wanted to be was a meteorologist. That lasted. Yeah, I wanted to be like the weather person. That lasted.
That caught me off guard.
Yeah, like I was like all into the weather and I was like always kind of weird. But
Just want to be on TV.
But not even that. I was into like more of the science of it. Like I was like, what's humidity? Like what's barometer? What's that? Then I found out like these dudes wasn't like like real scientists. They was just like getting information from wherever and then like being able to communicate it. So I learned pretty early on that communication was key. But then with my passion for sports and everything I did, I was like, okay, like I want to either work in like some type of professional front office or be a sports agent. So then like even like from like 7th grade on, everything that I looked up or was about like sports administration, sports management, business. So that's kind of how I kind of matriculated through high school, just kind of with always wanting to be in that major and in that field. So this is what like some people that might not be coaches don't understand. They just think like, even like whether it's people on TV or people in a barbershop or people on social media, they think like they see the game, they research the game, they know the game, which they might know the game from a certain standpoint, but then there's a whole other science or there's a whole nother intricacy of actually taking what you know out of your head and having that come to fruition on the court through communicating it and breaking it down so players can understand it. So that's kind of me kind of seeing Coach Lombardi and Coach Michaels, and even at AAU, and then Coach Lombardi at IUP. I kind of fell in love to like how that communication process worked. So, because there were like things where like I can see it on TV, I know what it is, but then when I hear them break down certain things to me or to other players, it's like I'm catching on really fast, and I'm like, so that's the prize in coaching, is kind of seeing someone go from being ignorant or not having the knowledge or not being able to execute it to being able to communicate it, and then seeing it come to fruition in a way that they can execute it. So outside of the management piece of like doing the behind the scenes stuff, I actually fell in love with communicating the intricacies of the game.
Speaking about IUP, kind of just to close out, I wonder, what's your relationship like now with Coach Lombardi, and do you ever bounce things off him? Does he ever bounce things off you?
Yeah, so now it's kind of just like a mentor-mentee relationship. Like, we actually text today for a little while, just kind of checking in. It's very rarely like X's and O's and that type of thing, unless it's like in that setting. I'm not like calling him like before a season, and he's not like calling me to be like, you know, what do you think about pick and roll and stuff? I just think we kind of just, you know, learn and grow, and we kind of just do what we do. If I have, like, especially at this junior college level or when I was coaching AAU, if there's any players out there that I see, I'll kind of let them know. Or if there's anybody he might have a question about that's from the area, he'll reach out that he might be interested in, like that. But yeah, we kind of just text today as kind of like hope you're doing good. You know, talk a little bit about like how the season's going, and just, I don't know, he always lets me know, you know, how proud he is of me, and I always let him know how thankful I am of the opportunity to have that experience to kind of launch my career.
So then you end up at Cabrini. First, why did you choose Cabrini?
So that was the whole thing with, like I said, my mom had passed away. So so my senior year of college, I found out she was sick. So she was really sick. So it was like I probably had some opportunities to maybe be a GA at a D1 or a D2 or be somewhere around, but just the nature of kind of being at IUP, one, you kind of build a network. Like, so if I'm building a network and like we're in the PSAC West, so that's like your Slippery Rocks, your Cal U, everything that's out there closer to Pittsburgh. And then also with some of those opportunities, whether it's either D1 or whatever, you got to just do a lot in terms of the time commitment. So what I had chose to do was come back to the Philadelphia area and try to find something around here. So I emailed a bunch of coaches, John Barron at Gwinnett Mercy, Jim Rulo at Newman University. And then what I found out through all that was that Cabrini was in a transition of changing coaches. Coach John Barron, who from Gwinnett, he let me know that he was like, hey, you might want to just reach out to Cabrini. They're getting a new coach. So I actually ran into two of their former player who was just graduating, and one of my good friends who I'm friends with to this day, Bill Wiley. I ran into them at Villanova's camp, Jay Wright's camp in Villanova after I graduated. So I knew I wanted to stay home, be close to home. So I talked to Bill, and he said, oh yeah, they named the coach. They named one of the guys that was already an assistant. They named him the coach. I emailed him. We meet, and the thing about like leaving IUP too, like you want to be a part of a successful program. So like I'm a grinder, so I feel like I can go places and make my way, and we can have some success. But I just thought like with this, like Cabrini had been in the national championship in 2012, and I think in like an Elite 8 and 13, or in around the 32 and 14, like nationally, like one of the best, at least like a top 20 team in the country for like the past 3 or 4 years. So once I met with Tim McDonald, I had already connected with him too, like at my time at IUP, working like different camps. Like we would work like hoop group camps, and that's where a lot of the young coaches kind of cut their teeth and work with kids and you network and stuff like that. So just kind of meeting him, he was actually an assistant, so I meet him. So we had already had a familiarity. He got the head coaching job, and it was kind of like, okay, like I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna get started. And with the D3, like, so D3 is like, a lot of places don't have like full-time coaches in terms of assistants. So what happens is you still got to work another job. So it was like I was able to work as well as coach, and then but still kind of get on the road, learn recruiting even more. Continuing to learn the Philly area, maybe even leveraging some of my network to help, and then just continuing to build more and more of a network in college basketball circles.
Right. And so you get your master's in leadership, right?
Yeah.
So what were you planning? Were you planning to get your master's in order to teach, or was that just giving you some flexibility to do some other things on top of coaching?
Yeah, so I'm actually still finishing up my teacher's certificate, so which I'm kind of kicking myself. I wish I would have got it in that, and then I wouldn't be in school still. But I kind of wanted to set myself up to work in college athletics. So I started learning the landscape of like small college basketball, where it's like I said, there's not a lot of like you're the assistant coach and that's your only job and you can feed your family with that. But there is opportunity like where you can work, you're a compliance officer, but you can also be an assistant basketball coach, or at a junior college, you can be an assistant athletic director and coach a sport. Like that's what we got here. Like our soccer coach is the assistant athletic director. So I was so I figured bachelor's in sports management, master's in leadership, experience in the field, which my other experience was that I had worked some time with the Sixers and stuff. So I was just trying to get experience in the sports management field to make me kind of applicable to the small college landscape.
Got it. Nice. And so I guess just moving on to this past season, so you guys go 16-5 in your first season, and you win the ESAC championship. Is that what you expected coming into the job?
I didn't know what to expect. They had went 8-6 the previous year, but I was familiar with the roster that was in place because so going back to Cabrini, so a former Cabrini, though both the people that had the job previously before me, both were involved with Cabrini. One was Dom Farello, who played for Cabrini, and he was an assistant at Burnett, and he gets that job. But then he hires a guy, Ryan Charity, who I actually coached when I was at Cabrini. So he hires Ryan, and then after the pandemic and starting that 21-22 season, Dom decided like he wanted to step down, and they promoted Ryan. And so I had a relationship with Ryan. So I was familiar with the team last year, kept track of their progress. Then I was familiar with some of the guys that he had brung in. So, so long story short, Ryan in September decides that he wanted to step down as well. I think, he just moving on with his family and going into other business ventures. So he pretty much lets me know that he's stepping down and they're going to need somebody, and he would be willing to refer me. And I was like, sure, I'll do it. And I started familiarizing myself with some of the players and some of the team, but I still had to wait for kind of to go through the official process of the AD. I think there were some other candidates. So I had to wait for them to kind of sort that. So I get the interview, I do it. And I interviewed in October, and they got a game November 1st, the first game.
Right.
So I interview in October, and once we get everything done, I have my first practice, which was pretty much a tryout. I have that on October 11th. So and even with that, like even some of the guys, like coming in, you don't know like who like is registered for all their classes, who's gonna be hurt, so even with that, like even some of the guys that like I picked up that I thought were good, a bunch of them end up not even playing, like at least 5 or 6 guys. Some of them had to wait till the second semester, but I think just kind of once we got closer to games and I actually knew who I had, I thought we kind of had a chance at being successful. I mean, especially in the conference, I was familiar with the conference and the level of the school and kind of like the talent they could bring in. So I thought we would be pretty competitive in terms of like man for man, and if I had learned enough at IUP and at Cabrini and learned enough, head coaching at Belmont High School, if I had learned enough and could communicate and could use some of these skills that I had learned any good, then I thought we could be good and take care of the conference.
Right. Yeah, I was just going to mention that you got hired in October 2022, and then you start November 2022 pretty much. What were your immediate priorities, just given the hand that you were dealt?
So I kind of wanted to do I kind of wanted to construct a roster in terms of like how I saw it, in terms of like make sure like that, if anybody needed to be cut, that we cut them. If anybody needed to get classes or had any of those last second needs, that we took care of that. So took care of that business to get guys even in. And then I think just trying to balance the building of the discipline and the culture we wanted, as well as building relationships with the guys. And a part of that was leaning on the guys that had played like the previous year, because a lot of times, especially at this level, you're dealing with like a lot of freshmen. So they kind of just don't understand sometimes the urgency of like how college basketball works and how everything is all put together. But I had three great holdovers from that previous group, which was Colin Martin, Joey Brescia, and Luke Redding, who kind of helped me establish the culture as well. And then obviously I wanted to at some point get an assistant, so I knew I had to get that done pretty fast. And then I wanted to kind of see the guys. So I kind of have an approach like how I approach a season, and it's mainly focusing on the details and the principles that we need to do every single day. So and kind of doing those things. So I do a lot of those things early, and then with that I can kind of see the talent and guys' skills, and then I start to kind of develop a system around that. So for me, it's like, let's establish the defense. Like, we need to close out every possession. We need to be on the help side. We need to do that. So pretty much, like, I focused on defense for like almost 2 weeks. Like, I didn't put in like a play till almost like a week before a game. But it was just but I knew like through some drills and like breakdown stuff and small sided games, I still could teach them how I wanted us to play offensively. But the hardest thing I think for some of these students, especially at this level, the student athletes, is to get all the defensive principles together. So I kind of spend a lot of time always working on that. And then I feel like by the time that we have a decent offense, by the time we put an offense in, at least we should be going and practice against a tougher defense than we'll play. Right. So that's kind of was some of my priorities after coming into the season.
So most coaches, they probably go through, a summer of conditioning, a summer of skill development, right? But you didn't have that luxury. Some even may do like a summer league, spring league, that sort of stuff. How do you prioritize skill development versus like team building, especially just coming in pretty much fresh?
So I think like in terms of skill development, I think like the best approach, even when you do have a lot of time, is to build the basics. Like, it's not like a lot of cone work or working on quote unquote your bag and stuff like that. But I feel like if we can build the basics, if you can drive and kick and make the pass on target, and even if the pass is not all the way on target, if you can get used to catching the ball, playing out of a closeout, playing out of one dribble pull up, playing, if you're a shooter, playing out of catch and shoot, if you're a ball mover, getting a catch, moving it to the next spot. So I kind of prioritize those things because I think that they will help me with the team development. Right. And then also like just getting the spots as soon as possible and making quick decisions. So those are some of the things like that I really prioritize, getting the ball up the floor, like making all those kind of reads, and then building the muscle memory that will help you do those things in the team concept. I hope I answered that correctly.
No, yeah, definitely. I agree. I think it's like the most important thing is always establishing the principles, especially like you mentioned defensively. Like Steve Kerr has a quote where he says, it doesn't matter how good you are, like you're going to lose every game where you're just playing the whole game in rotation. Yeah, you
can't play the whole game in rotations. And the other thing too, Rich, is like defensively dictating where you want the offense to go. And then that helps you limit rotations because now, and this is the main thing I'm trying to teach my guys, I'm like, close out the guys and be on the help side or be what we want to be early, because then you can see that, like basically is a thing of like, if I take away, and this is just, I guess maybe I picked up on these things because like we said, I was a defensive player, but I'm like, if I take away middle, okay, you're gonna go down to the sideline and the baseline. So I gotta have an anticipation. Even with that, just me guarding, I have to have an anticipation that, okay, I took one thing away, they're going to the next spot next. So then now I can anticipate that they're going that way. And then if I can get them to be in rotation, and I don't even never use this, I just kind of came up with it. If I can get them to be in offensive rotation, which is like making them be what I call indecisive, then now I think that's a win as a defense. I think defensively, like, you got to just understand that 4 to 6 slides, no more than 8, for every time someone catches the ball. If you really dig in for those 4 to 6 slides, I mean, I'm trying to tell my guys, like, they got a coach that's yelling at them to move the ball. They got teammates that's going to get frustrated. They got a play they're trying to run. So if you can, like, make them not be as decisive in their play, that's a win on defense. And then they got to do something that they're not comfortable with. So that's the thing defensively. Hopefully we get there. But
right. Yeah, that's like, that's pretty much the goal of any defensive adjustment, right? It's just speed the offense up, make them make mistakes. Like,
speed them up or slow them down in terms of like, we know they want to reverse the ball, so like to the middle. So why don't we ice it? Why don't we do different things, like, or they want to go Iverson and reject it, so don't let them reject the ball screen. Send them into your guy, and then you kind of know. Then the backside and everything else can kind of go off of that. But yeah, I definitely think just kind of continuing to build principles is key.
Yeah. I saw a tweet yesterday. It was kind of like one of those threads on Twitter.
Yeah.
And they were asking, like, coaches.
X now, right?
Yeah, X now, whatever. And so they say, coaches, do you tell all your players to send everyone baseline, or do you have different principles depending on the player, depending on the scout? Like, what is it for you?
You mean for me?
Yeah.
So right now we're no middle. The only thing that will change is like ball screen coverage, because if we're hedging or showing or trapping, then I would like my guard to send them into the screen, into like where our big is showing at. I want them to send them to that, and then hopefully they can go out even more wider. Or if we're getting a trap, we can trap it. But like, because if the big comes up and then they reject it down to the baseline, then they probably can get an easy layup or put us in rotations. But on the catch, we're no middle. If the ball is on one side, we're trying to keep it there and trying to get them to go down to the baseline and see if we can get into, like, if we need to get in the cover down, or we tag the rotation and then kind of bait out. But we haven't been great defensively though. So we're still learning all those things.
How does that change depending on personnel? Like, what if you have a super aggressive ball handler? What if you have a team who plays, the shooter on the weak side instead of the strong side? Like, does that change at all?
So one of the things I tell guys, and I think it's more of a us than a them, in terms of, so like, as your help depends on your speed and your athleticism. So if I wish we had, like, I could draw up. So like, if let's say I'm on the weak side, right, and they got action there. Let's say they got a guy posting and we're fronting the post, and then the guy guarding the corner shooter is helping on that. If he's fast, then he should be able to get to the skip. Or if he's slow, then he's got to have some level of anticipation. And like, so that's what I actually think that the being in the help early and all those things actually should help you with your anticipation, because I know I'm taking away the pass to the big, or I'm helping on the baseline drive. But as soon as that guy picks his dribble up and because they start to look wherever they're going, then you gotta start getting home. I call it getting home.
Right. And so at any point, would you want that guy to peel? So say if he's helping front the post, they end up skipping it out to the corner. He gets out there, he closes out too hard, he gets beat. What do you want him to do? Do you want him to peel?
Yeah, we should probably shed that. So what I'm thinking is that, so what we teach is, so the guy that was fronting the post on that skip, now you got to go to the other block, and then the guy that was guarding the ball should be coming down as well. So if that guy gets beat, then we should have the first guy over there should be the guy that was on the post. We should have him kind of stepping up, and then we should kind of have you should have the guy that was on the ball then becomes the cover down to help out with the post, and the guy that there should be another guy up top. He can help cover down if it's still a corner threat, or he's got to just play the next pass out. And then the guy that you said was on the ball, you said peel. I call it shed, but he should shed and find the opening as well, but still with a help defense mentality.
Right.
And then, and then we're all yelling everything about like who's actually getting the ball, shooter, driver, whatever. So we're kind of helping out with the personnel, but then all the guys should also just be communicating those things. I always say, like, no matter what the scheme is, and if you mess it up or if everything's not certain, like, you're never going to have 100% like great rotations or great like we all, like high school, college, NBA, like we all do shell drill, we all do rotation drill. You're never going to get the rotation 100% right. So my thing is, you got to communicate it as well as you can, and you got to have as much effort as you can, because that will make up if it's not a perfect rotation. Like if you're flying all over the place, like, and like, if you flew to like, maybe the wrong spot, then if you fly to the next spot, like with good effort, or if you're flying one way and your teammate is telling you no over here and you can still continue to go that way, then we get pretty good rotations with that.
Right.
But I think it's definitely about coaching up that effort and communication as well.
So is most of that coming through the shell drills in practice, or film, or a mixture of both, or something else?
A mixture of both, a mixture of, so because you got to see it, then you got to buy into it, and then you as a player, as a coach, you got to make sure your players understand why the things are important. I think understanding the why is the biggest thing. So I think that's where like the film study comes in. That's where like the teaching comes in, stopping it, explaining different things, explaining potential things like that we've seen as coaches. I think those things are important. So I think, the shell drill, you rep it out, and that helps with the muscle memory. And then you watch it on film, and you might watch other people do it. You might watch other teams, and if there's good examples out there, do it. And then as you start to play games, you watch yourself to see your own self in that predicament. Right. And then also when you do scout too, you're putting, pretty much our job is to put our defensive principles and show how that works against the other team.
As a defensive guy yourself, what do you think about zone defense? And does your opinion change depending on the level?
I think it does. Like my opinion is that that youth basketball should not play zone defense as a base defense.
Okay.
Because what happens is like I get all these guys recruited at this level, and some of these guys are from different programs that's not playing high level, or they just don't get seen as much, and they just don't have the man principles down when I get them. So now I spend about half a season trying to teach them stuff that they've been doing wrong for 6 and 7 years. Yeah. And as much muscle memory as we do, I never know when they're going to revert back to their own habits. Also, those younger ages, I think, should be for development. Like in terms of you shouldn't be like in 5th grade, 6th grade, coming out playing a 2-3 zone. Can those kids at that level really like work on driving? I mean, I guess they could work on like seeing the zone defense and the different reads, but then now defensively you're just working on shifting, and you're not really working on how to actually guard, how to close out correctly, how to rotate in a man, how to be help and recover. Sometimes I get my players now, somebody asks me like, are we playing man or are we playing our area? And I'm like, you're doing both. Like my thing is you're playing man and ball.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I think just at the youth level, like if you want to mix it in, if you want to teach kids that type of strategy or stuff like that. I mean, I do that at this level. I mean, I might mix something in to change a pace or whatever, but I don't think like playing like these little traps and all this stuff is like good for development in terms of defensively and offensively. Even to like you play, like say you 13 years old, you're puberty, you got a bunch of big and strong fast kids, and all they're doing is like trapping and getting out on the break. Like how are they really learning how to play basketball? Then when everybody's grown and it catches up, then it's like, okay, you won a bunch of games as a middle school coach and as a JV coach, but like But like, you didn't teach your kids how to play basketball? So I don't like zone defense as a base defense. I'll say that. I'll leave
Yeah.
it there.
There's a flip side to it too, because it's like those kids come in and they don't know man principles,
Yeah.
but they also don't know the zone principles. They're just kind of like mindlessly flowing, going from one side to one side. There's like a level of intention that's just missing there.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's just attention, and that's the thing too. I think sometimes coaches spend too much time like showing strategy in at the younger developmental levels instead of like teaching the game. And then I think even when I get teams, I think teaching them like the principles and like that type of thing. Like, so I always call it like three things. Like, I got principles, I got plays, and I got points. So my principles are me teaching them how to play defensively and offensively, passing and moving, how to make certain reads, driving and kicking, playing out of a closeout. Those things, those are principles. We do those things every time. Call for the ball, put a name on the pass. Like, those are things we should be doing every single time without saying defensively, communicating, boxing out, chinning the ball with two hands, being on the help side. We should be doing those things all the time. And then the plays are the things that you add in as strategy. You know, we running a set or our pick and roll coverage, or, you know, on this particular play, if we're playing zone. So I think defensively and offensively, sometimes those younger coaches younger levels, they spend too much time on the plays part of it instead of the principles part.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with those things.
Yeah.
Like, kids just want to come out, shoot the ball, and all that, but it's like you gotta learn your principles first, and a lot of times that could be frustrating for teams and coaches. And coaches sometimes don't want to go through that hard part of like the frustration and the learning curve. I call it like, it's like the learning curve.
Yeah.
But on the other side of the learning curve is progress, and then you can either move on to something else or you can build on that. So I think that's the thing that, like, us as youth coaches and developmental coaches, we gotta embrace like that learning curve.
Yeah.
Like, you might get a player that might not can use his left hand, or might not can make a certain read, but you have to teach him that, and teach him that it's okay to fail, and don't be afraid of, like, he's gonna get frustrated. He's gonna get, you know, down on himself sometimes. You gotta just be. I think it's just something about being in that war with the guy as they go through that learning curve, and being empathetic to that is, I think that's a beautiful thing. And I think if we can get more people with that mindset, that could be the key to, like, you know, helping players develop at all levels.
Yeah, so how much of it would you say is your job to develop guys versus, because you guys still have to win, you still have to kind of bring a name out for yourself and for your program, but again, you also want to send guys to the next level.
Yeah, so I'm in a unique spot in terms of developing, but like I said, like, if I'm developing winners, like, meaning guys that can make the winning play versus guys like with the sexiest skill set. Like, if I can develop effective players at this level, like, you know, we're not talking about youth level anymore. I'm talking about developing effective players that can play against other men and get the job done. If I'm developing that, I think that coaches will see that, and they kind of know that. And then I think there's also just, you know, every day we're working on skills. We start our practices with 3 dribble, full court layups, you know, with just one hand dribbling, one hand getting there. I just need guys to get to their spot. Like, we're not necessarily pulling cones out and developing a bag, but I'm developing players that's going to be able to finish with either hand, go pull up with either hand. I think cumulative over time, like, we do those skills every day. I think they'll help you every day, and cumulatively over time, they'll build up. So, and then I think there's also certain times for development. You know, if we're in, you know, let's say we started on September 18th, that's time for us to spend more time developing, shooting, doing different things. As we move closer to games, then we gotta, like, prepare for the game, but also sprinkle in that development when we can, because that's the stuff that can help us. The other thing too, at this level too, that's sneaky is evaluating. So like, I can recruit guys, like, from high schools, in that thing and kind of get an idea. But me, I'm always trying to recruit the best players possible anyway. So you get 15 to 20 kids in the gym who I feel like could be starters for us or could help us. But then it's only 200 minutes in the game. So I'm figuring out, so I'm also spending time trying to figure out how to maximize that. So besides the development and the like teaching team concepts, I'm also always evaluating.
Right.
So that's kind of something that can get lost, especially when you're talking about early season, trying to set a rotation, how we going into games, what 8, 9, 10 guys, what's everybody's role. I always say it's probably gonna be easy to pick out your best player. It's probably gonna be easy to pick out your top 4 maybe.
Yeah.
Then it's probably gonna be easy to pick out your bottom 3 or 2 or 3. But if you do a good job recruiting, like your 8th man could be as good as a starter. Your 10th man, and on certain years or in certain situations, can help you win a game. So I think that's the part that kind of gets lost. So I have to kind of put us in situations early on where I can see like who can really stand out, and we're always, as a staff and as me, we're always evaluating that too.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's funny you mentioned the 3 dribble drill full court. I call that the Kentucky perfection drill.
That is. We call it perfection.
Perfection.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So I was actually, at Spooky Nook, you have like all the coaches there sometimes, and so I see Calipari, and like I was nervous, and I was like, there's like all the coaches there. I just walk up to him. I'm like, hey, coach, I actually do your Kentucky perfection drill like every day.
That's good.
No, it's a funny story, but
I think the one video that he had out, it was like that good team though. I think you watch like, is it Championship Series or something? Yeah.
Something like that.
I think it was like one of those like stacked teams that had like Terrence Jones and like all these draft picks and stuff, and like they're going up and down, like doing layup. And that's what I'm trying to get to my guys. I'm like, nobody's like good enough to skip this part of the game. Definitely we're not. But if guys that are getting drafted, like if John Wall's doing it, and he's still kind of trying to work on his left hand and trying to work on him getting the spots. Like, this is the stuff we need to be doing. Like, we don't need to be doing like Jamal Crawford. Like, no offense to him, but we just don't need to be like spending a boatload of our time doing that until we embrace the basics and don't get bored with the fundamentals. We need to like do this stuff like it's the championship game, because that's the only way you'll get there.
Yeah, definitely. Like it's kind of simple when you look back at the analytics, and it's like, how many games can you really win shooting 60% from the free throw line and going 1 for 10 and stand still open threes?
Yeah,
it's just tough to do.
You gotta have skills. You gotta have skills.
Yeah.
You gotta, and it's not necessarily the bag. It's you gotta make the simple plays when you need to make them.
Yeah, I think one criticism I have of kind of this new generation, which is my generation, but like I feel like we're seeing less players, like just less all-around players. Like I feel like if you play the game enough and you really love it, you should be able to do pretty much everything at some intermediate, elementary level. But I feel like you can even get to a high level with lacking a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like you can get to a high level lacking a basic jump shot or a offhand, just a dribble offhand, finish offhand, things like that. Like, why do you think that is?
I don't think that's new to the new generation.
Really?
Like if you look at like older guy, like you did what you did. Like, I don't know, like Dennis Rodman. Like you look at like a Dennis Rodman. He's a top 75 player ever, and he's like, he does like one thing. But I think. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think with the NBA though, it's a little bit different because those guys are like so incredibly talented at something else.
Yeah.
But, like I'm saying, like when I watch like a high school game, I'm like, I'm trying to figure out what it is that you do. I remember my AAU coach sat us down like one practice. She just looked at every single one of us, like, what do you do on the floor? And a few of us were kind of like, just stumped. Like, I don't know what I do.
Yeah.
So I wonder.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm confused on it. Are you talking about specialists versus all around guys, or are you talking about just kids not understanding what they do special to be able to be productive?
I'd say, kind of a mixture of both. What I'm really saying is I feel like in the past, people loved the game a little bit more and they would play more. right? Versus now you have a lot of other options rather than to play basketball. Like even
Yeah, so I think that's the thing. Yeah, I think it's just so much to do. Like when I came up with, I played like I was obsessed. I'm still like I was obsessed with basketball. Like we go to the park at 7 in the morning. You lose, you get off, you mad, you gotta wait 2-3 hours. You gotta like we play basketball. We don't like I'm like not even with a cell phone. Like I didn't even have a cell phone yet, but my mom, come to the court looking for you, come to the thing looking for you. We ride bikes to different neighborhoods. Like so all that stuff we do. I think I think it's just all convenient now. So and also I don't think people wanna like everything is, I don't want to say selfish, but everything is like people, you can just do what you want by yourself. So like if I'm not getting the shots that I want at this court, like I either got an Uber now, I got a license, I got everything. So I got my own ball, or I can go play 2K and do it in the metaverse and do it, I can do it virtually,
Right.
so, or I can go do something different. So I think it's just the options that everybody has, and also like what's culturally cool now. So I think we had like, I think just as a young man, like being involved in some type of sport was almost like you just had to do it. You had to do it. Like you had to have sport, you had to have play, you had to be you had to have physicality, you had to kind of do those things growing up. So I think just with some of the changes in the world, like it's more individualism, everybody's just doing what they want to do. And then sometimes kids might even do it and they still want that individualism like everybody else, but now they're involved in this thing. And now it's like they are not really aware of like what they're doing with what they're doing. They think, and then also it's just for kids, whether you're good at it, bad at it, doing it for fun, doing it because you love it, there's still that self-discovery. Like you can love, like I said, like in 7th grade, the 6th, 7th grade, I wanted to be a meteorologist. And like, and now I rarely watch like, the weather because it's all on Google and stuff. So I think just kind of that self-discovery that take place, like that's the thing here. I can recruit a kid that was good in high school and they get here and they understand, like, and I do think it's like okay, like if a kid was playing on TV and they knew they was gonna go to the NBA, they would love it. But if a kid's like scratching and crawling at a junior college, listening to me yell at them, it's like, hey, this ain't for me. Like I can go work, I can go do different things. So I think you'll find that everywhere across the board, though.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
I guess where I was going with it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No worries. I think where I was going with it was like, I've come to realize, like in my time coaching, that there's a reason why the best players are the best players, and the not great players are not great. And I think it was tough for me to think about because I'm like, okay, like people aren't giving these other kids a chance. I want to give them a chance.
Then you
realize like maybe there's a reason why they're not good and the ones that are good are actually really good. So like over, I say the last year, I had like a few players, they were actually pretty good. And then just seeing their level of commitment was completely different. So I wanted to ask you, like, how do you balance like wanting to help people versus helping the right people?
Yeah, that's funny. I had one of the motivational speakers that I listen to, Inky Johnson. He does a speech where he talks to the Tampa Bay football team, the Buccaneers, a few years ago, and it kind of went like clips of it went viral. But I listened to it and like in the van going to games with the guys, and we take little bits and pieces from it. And sometimes it's like an ongoing joke, but in the beginning of it. And I put this on social media yesterday as like a hashtag, but he says, every man must search his own soul. So that's just what I was talking about a couple minutes ago with like the self-awareness of like, do you really want to do this? Like, do you really have the goals that you say you have? And then once you realize that, are you willing to do whatever comes with that? Like, it's like you can't, like, so commitment is staying true to what you said you was true to way after the mood that you said it in is left. So what I mean by that is basically like everybody wants to do something when it's cool. Everybody wants to be locked in when it's cool, but do you really want to like be disciplined and like come up here and now it's about to turn winter. You got to commute up to a community college, and you got to deal with some of the lack of resources that we have, and you might just have to put that work in. Or like now, like we ended practice at 6:00, right? So like a kid that's really committed has to stay here, wait till the girls in practice, and get shots up for another hour until they close the gym at 9, 10 o'clock. So it's like, do you really want to do this? Like I had a talk with my guys last week, and we're struggling this year. We're 3-7 right now after 10 games. A part of it is we played a gauntlet. We had everything that you could have. We played a gauntlet in terms of competitive teams at our level. Like pretty much like half of our games were against like nationally ranked teams or teams that made the tournament last year or are really good this year. We played 8 of 10 on the road or neutral courts. Okay. One of our best players missed 5 of those games. And then we're immature and we have a lot of freshmen, and we, and I only returned 3 guys that played a lot. So I had to talk with them just to kind of, get into the minds of some of these freshmen, and even some, like they're young men. So like stuff wavers and they just need a little motivation. But I asked them, I said, at some point, you're not just underrated. Right. At some point, everybody's not sleeping on you, and like it's not just a cool hashtag of like, oh, they'll see what you're about. I told them, I said, there are decisions that people are making to get where they want to go that you're not necessarily making. And that has to be just a realistic part of it. A part of it, like you said, is, like you said, you get some of these kids that are overlooked and they just need a platform. And then a part of it is like, what are you doing with your platform now that you have one? I mean, we're not Villanova, but we got 2 baskets, we got balls, you got teammates.
Yep.
We have a fitness center down there. Like, you got LA Fitness memberships, whatever you want. Like, what are you doing with the resources you have? Some people are gonna go to the next level, and that's what they want to do. Like in terms of playing at the next level, earning a scholarship, going to a 4-year school, finishing their degree, and they want to be good enough to be on the team when they get there. And I'm like, those goals are good. And then I say, some of you are just gonna want to be a part of a team and win and do what you have to do here, and those goals are good as well, and you can help us if you're good enough. But I always say, if you're going to be a part of what we're doing now, you should, like, I just need you to, like you said, love it enough that you want to put a certain amount of work in to be successful, at least here. And I always talk about now, meaning no opportunities wasted. That's kind of like something I tell the team. Got that from an entrepreneur from my neighborhood, Nehemiah Davis. He says that all the time. But it's like, no opportunities wasted. Like, so what I'm saying is like, the decision that you're making now can be your next opportunity, whether it's on the court or whether it's off the court. Because the other thing too, I try to get my guys to understand, like, we're here. Right now our roster's 16, maybe might add some guys for next semester, may lose some guys to injury or, a grade here or there. Hopefully not none for grades, if not 1. But so we're going to be between 15 and 20 dudes. We're here. This is not only just coming to play basketball and just chilling. This is also a networking opportunity. You're going into competition where emotions are raised, pretty much. I don't want to say war because I don't want to disrespect that, but you're going into high-level competition with a group of guys every single day and putting in work every single day. So like, you don't want to be the guy in 10 years when such and such owns a company, or when we got to get 2 or 3 guys together to do a real estate move, and we say, Rich shortchanged it. We say Rich was late to practice, or Rich didn't touch the line every time, because you don't realize it now, but guys look back on it and say, who's reliable?
Yep.
Who did we have to wait for on the van all the time? Who didn't we? So that type of thing. So you're always networking, like, or whatever it is. We go out and we go eat as a team at Chick-fil-A, and you help clean the table. Like somebody, the franchisee at Chick-fil-A might notice that. So you're always want to be your best self, and I'm hoping that just instilling that into them carries over on the court, and then with that we can be successful because everybody's working it here to not waste the opportunities that we have here.
Yeah, no, it really means everything. Like, not to keep quoting Steve Kerr, but he said,
Steve Kerr's good.
no, he's good. He said, how you do anything is how you do everything.
How you do anything is how you do everything. My pastor says that all the time, and so does the entrepreneur that says no opportunity is wasted says that too.
Yeah.
Like, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah, and one thing to keep in mind is, like, the older you get in life, the less you see the people that, you used to see all the time. So, like, all your players who are teammates now, they see each other all the time. Later on, the strength of their relationship is going to be, like, kind of their reputation, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's all it's going to be. All you have is like a whim now and a memory. And psychologically, not to get too deep, you remember and have the negative has more of an impact on you. So what I mean by that is you can let's say you miss practice. Let's say we have in a season, let's say we have 150 practices. Let's say you miss 10 practices, which is not all the practices, but 5 years from now, they'll say Rich missed practice all the time.
all the time, yeah, exactly.
So that's what they'll say, and it's it's only whatever is, and they say perspective is reality, but in reality is relatively not all the time, it's technically, but it's in the minds of people, it's work, you had a bad attitude, you didn't take constructive criticism, whatever it is, people remember that, and that's kind of how they think about you. So you always want to be thinking about, how you're perceived, but also just how you're progressing in life as well, and trying to be the best version of yourself.
Yeah, that translates to everything. I used to tell my players all the time, like, if we're up, like, say 20 or whatever the case is, they start goofing off a little bit, but you never know who's coming to watch you and at what point they come and watch you. Like, if I watch a team for one 5-minute stretch and they're terrible throughout that stretch, I leave that gym and I'm going to say that team is terrible.
Yeah, up 15, up whatever. You said that game was a joke.
Yeah.
And you could play good basketball for most of the game. When we had a game the other day, I thought we put together, like, Rich, I want to say we put together like 33 minutes of good to, I want to say, like, solid to good to great basketball. We probably put together 5 to 7 minutes of horrible basketball. We lose the game.
Yeah.
Or just because of, like, during that stretch, you got to put together all 40, and you got to always be thinking that this can be the opportunity. Like, you don't want to waste that opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. Those are, like, the direct consequences, right? The direct consequences, you lose.
Yeah.
But then there's, like, the indirect consequence of anyone who's watching you, they're going to leave with that taste in their mouth of, that team sucks, or that team, whatever the case is, right?
Yeah,
That
like,
perception
like right now, we probably have a perception that we can't close our game. We've been up, we've been, we've been down, in which we made runs to take a lead. And if you look on our schedule, let me see, Scranton, we lost by 4. I'm just trying to call it out quickly while we're here. Scranton, we lost by 4. Williamson, we lost by 4. The other day, we lost by, like, I want to say, we lost by 5. We played Penn State York. We had it at 3 with 5 minutes to go. Okay. CCP game, we came out that game, got a lead, and then it was kind of nip and tuck, and then you look up, and we're down 10 with 2 minutes to go because we can't close. So that's how teams are looking. That's how, that's kind of the perspective of the perception of the team right now.
Right.
So it's like we got to do something to be trying to change that, and to just be working so that way we can be a team that win. Like last year, we pulled all these close games out. So it's just it's a learning process, but it's just like you said, the direct thing is like we're losing these games, but also it's like you build a reputation. Now, if you're a player on the court and the other day, like you're a player on the court and let's say you don't get a rebound to close it out, now a college coach could have been walking in, like, especially we're playing like on Saturdays where maybe they have a game before or after. They want to come back by, catch a snippet. Same thing with the AAU. It's like you got between the hours of 10 and 10, you got 11 games on that court.
Exactly.
So colleges they got a book, they got a schedule. They want to catch out Ghost Elite for 5 minutes. They want to go over here, catch out New Jersey Drive. They want to catch out catch over here. They want to go see a team from Carolina. So you never know when your opportunity is going to come. I say all that to say that. And then if if you start building a reputation of you don't take it serious all the time, then no coach is going to want you. And the thing that I hope that young players get, especially if you want to get a scholarship or if you want to play, even if you want to play college ball, even like me, I'm not like a big time coach. So I have, and I'm not saying that these guys don't have empathy, but I have the ability to have a little more empathy because this, what I'm doing here at Bucks is not like my livelihood, but you're talking about we're in a climate where coaches are getting fired, coaches are having to change jobs, coaches are, a player gets a bad reputation for something they do on campus. Now you have to take leave. So we're in a climate where basically your performance affects someone's livelihood.
Yep.
So unless you approach it like it's going to affect your livelihood, coaches don't really want you out there because now you're affecting how I put food in my family's mouth, and you're going to not get a rebound or whatever it is. You're not going to play hard all the time. You're going to not bring bench energy when you're on the bench. You got to be doing all these things because it all matters, because this is bigger than just you playing at LA Fitness or you playing with your friends, like how I said it, we grew up. Now you're getting into affecting people's resumes and their livelihood. And you want to, and then you as a player want to be attached to good resumes and good livelihoods. There are certain guys, good people, good character, where they go out and they get characterized as they're a coach killer. I don't want to recruit that guy because I'm gonna lose my job, dealing with him. Stuff like that. All these things happen. So you have to be cognizant of that, as and it has to be as urgent to you as it is to them.
So given that, right, again, you said it doesn't affect you the same way it might affect someone else, because it's not your livelihood. But do you tend to seek out more mature players as a result of that? Would you rather have, a prep guy versus a high school guy? Would you rather have a JUCO transfer versus a high school guy do that maturity level, and just the fact that they may have already gone through their mistakes?
I think the nature of what we have here, we will get some guys with some mistakes, and then we will get some talented. I will get some talented freshmen that I like and I don't want to just say this, that is just all about the talent, but I think that where you can kind of see the potential in them, to use that word, and you can kind of coach them to the maturity, if not. But obviously you want guys that I feel that can be mature and that go about handling their business a certain way. But I also do feel a responsibility to kind of help people and help them mature and help them kind of see certain things and realize certain things. So I think it's I think it's an obvious answer. You definitely want mature guys, but in terms of specifically prep, JUCO, I think we've had. So last year I had success with older kids because I had Colin, Joey, and Luke who returned from that team, and Colin and Joey pretty much started for me. And then because of the pandemic, I had some guys, like you said, that had made their mistakes or had been sitting out for so long, like a Yasser Rowell, a Tobias Prowl, who had been sitting out for so long that they kind of had that urgency with their time. Now I'm in the class of 2020. Abian Khalifa was another guy like that. In the class of, AB, right? Yeah, in the class of 2020, 2019, and the 2020, 2021 season was canceled for a lot of colleges too, unless you were Division I.
Right.
But anyway, so these guys didn't get a chance to play, or they had maybe went somewhere and maybe it didn't pan out like they wanted to. Now they get here and see this as opportunity, and they have that urgency about it. And then I still had some strong freshmen too.
Yep.
Jaden Fogg being one of them, who's having a great year right now. Jaquez Heath, who's becoming that urgent, mature leader for us. Brendan O'Reilly, whose role is increasing, and he's becoming, now he has that urgency because his time is ticking here. These guys got about 15 college games left.
Yep.
And and they have that urgency about them. But last year it was kind of like Yabo and and Tobias, kind of bringing that sense of urgency, and Joey, trying to bring in that sense of urgency and tension, and kind of bringing Jaden and Keese along. And now this year they're stepping into that role and trying to bring the young guys along. With that, we do have like some prep guys and some upperclassmen too. That Yasir Muhammad, he's a guy for me that's he was at Farmingham State, and I want to say it's up there, Massachusetts. So he was a freshman there, but he was able to see what that 4-year life was about, and he's another kid from the inner city, not too far from like where I grew up at, but he was able to kind of take himself and get exposed to what that life is about up like at the 4-year level. And and not for nothing, their team wasn't like a great, they wasn't a national championship program, but it's still a certain level of dedication you had to have. So now he's here with us as a sophomore, looking to get more playing time like this year, and because he didn't get as much there as he wanted. But now he has that urgency because he saw what a best player at a 4-year school looks like, or what the coaches are expecting at that level. So yeah, like those transfers and prep guys like OT Alexander, Jasir Carter, coming in as older freshmen, they do help us out a lot in terms of maturity.
Right. So you obviously understand the JUCO landscape, right? And it seems like typically the number of players shrinks throughout the season due to like academics, due to injuries, and just a bunch of things of that sort. And you also understand how important it is to get talent, retain talent, attract talent, all those things. How picky can you be during the recruiting process?
I just want to go take a step back to like talking about the maturity too. And this is tying into this question. I always say like my biggest recruiting job is to retain the guys, because now that creates a culture, that creates less of a learning curve, that creates some level of consistency. So I think like because if anybody's like really good here, they'll leave. But then also those guys that might not have got as much playing time last year, like a Brendan O'Reilly, who was a rotation player, but now he's a starter. So he wants to get more film and stuff like that to get recruited. So retaining him was big. Or like a Jaquez Heath, who was in and out of the lineup, like over winter break had to take a winter course, and then over summer break had to take a summer course. So like getting him to improve his academics so he can be with us, that was a big part of what we wanted to do. Jaden was solid. He was just he was actually on that teeter of like, I can go to like a D3 / 4-year USCAA school, or come back and trying to get more. So he ended up coming back. So I think that's the best recruiting I could do, is to retain the guys that we want to bring back, that it's a good opportunity for. And then in terms of being picky, I think it's just like anywhere else. I'm touching this, but I'm gonna shoot for bigger numbers. So in terms of like roster size, I'm gonna I always say I should shoot for 25, because I'll end up with 13 or 14 or 15. Like this year, I've been fortunate enough to retain 16 guys to start the season. I still got like another 2 who are like taking classes here, but don't want to waste a year of eligibility type of thing. So I think there's a certain amount of selection I can have, but ultimately I'm just looking for guys that want to come in and work hard every day, and then I'm looking for like the best players available.
Right. And so do you have any pressure to get guys out? Like say a guy does everything right, but they might, and it's hard to say because I don't know if this applies to any of your players, right? But like some players just aren't good enough for the next level, and especially like with the evolution of
transfer,
just even like D3.
Oh no, I was gonna say, sorry to cut you off. Go ahead, finish.
Oh yeah, no. So I was just gonna say like D3 is really good basketball, and again I don't know if this applies to any of your guys, but there are just some people who aren't good enough to play D3, like, and they might not have looks even coming out of 2 years of JUCO. Maybe they didn't have enough film, whatever the case is, like, but they did everything right. What does that feel like for you? Has that ever happened? Is that something that you worry about at all?
Yeah, I think so in terms of getting guys out, I think I put pressure on myself, like that's got to be a part of like our brand and our like and our catch to even get kids is that we can get kids out. So I think just in this young, like I got four guys out from last year's school team in terms of like placed at 4-year schools. Like honestly, everybody's not gonna do it, but I'm gonna. And if you want to, I'm gonna work the phone, see if I can get you a roster spot, a walk-on spot, do whatever I can in my power in order to get guys to play at 4-year schools. I think sometimes it's just that opportunity. Also, like coaches aren't always willing to go with the unknown. So now with the transfer portal and things like that, a lot of my guys get opportunities later. Mm-hmm. Like after like everything, like, so this is what I tell my guys, right? Like, so Division III teams want D2 transfers and D2 players. Division II teams want low to mid-major transfers and low to mid-major players. Mm-hmm. I'm at mid-majors, low majors, they want high major and mid-major transfers, and so on and so forth. So it's like, so now you're competing with all those people. Also at this level, you're still competing with Division I junior college players. So JUCO is like D1 JUCO, D2 JUCO, D3 JUCO, all that. So you're still competing with other JUCO players. And then depending on how a coach's timeline, they might want a player that is good as you with a 4 years of eligibility. Because now, if everything's equal, so what you have to do here is you have to be successful here because you have to like show a coach like you can be successful at the college level, and they might take you over a high school kid, but they might just be like, these guys are really close. This kid has 4 years left. I want to take a chance on this other kid. So I think. So I'll do everything in my power to get guys out. Just whether it's working the phones, emailing, using my network, coming up with tapes and stuff like that. And then hopefully there's some opportunities, for guys to go to 4-year schools, finish their degree, and if they want to, just kind of be a part of a team. But sometimes they might not be, a major part. Maybe a scout team player, maybe a student manager, things of that nature.
Got it. No, that definitely makes sense. So I've taken up a lot of your time. I guess we just get to the closing, and I call this a little speed round.
Oh, nice.
But it's just 4 quick questions. So I want to start out with your biggest break. Like, if this didn't happen, I don't know where I would be right now.
I think it's twofold. I think it's you mean as far as coaching, right?
Whatever you think.
Yeah, I think it's I think just starting on that path at IUP was a big part of it, and then I also think coaching at Cabrini was a big part of it because that's how I was able to network with Charity, who had a connection with Bucks. So, and also like the thing about like no matter who it is too, I just be respectful and do the best you can. Like I think even on that staff at Cabrini, I think just even taking time out to build a relationship with Ryan. He wasn't like the star player. He wasn't the worst player either, but he was a rotation player and he had some success. But he was his play would be kind of up and down and all that. But I think even just taking that time to like build a relationship with him and getting to know him and not be a certain way towards him helped me out as well.
How about your biggest what if?
That's a good question. So this is the other. So I always think about like, what if I did take that year off and then go work at the high school with my guy Nick at Community Academy, because that allowed me to be. So I was his assistant, but I was also the head JV coach there. And that kind of put me on the high school scene, which helped me land my first high school head coaching job. So a lot of the times, Rich, when you go to try to get a job, like whether it's at a Bucks or whatever, they want to see a combination of like experience, but also some sort of head coaching experience. Right. So I think just having that, and I also with me going to IUP, it all comes back to like that. Because then with me going to IUP, I did Philly Pride, which puts me with some big time level players, and around a big time level program. Just working with my guy Kevin Stewart at Philly Pride. So now I go from having no head coaching experience to having my own high school program, and I was able to coach the 17U select team for Philly Pride and be the head coach of that, and coach 4 Division I players. So now I go from that to that this summer, right before I come to Bucks. So I always think like what if I took that year off and I didn't stay on the high school scene and stuff, would I have got lost, or would I have maybe did something else? I don't know.
Yeah. What about a loss that haunts you?
So I think last season we played Central Penn up at Central Penn, and we had a lead in the first half. But there's a couple. I guess they both kind of run together. So I'm thinking of Central Penn. We get a lead in the first half, and then we just don't finish that game good, and we end up losing that game. And with them not having the greatest record last year, when it came to our national tournament bid, that gave us another loss against with the committee. I thought they were a tough team. I mean, they played us close every game, but with the committee, from a resume perspective, would think of as a bad loss. And then earlier in that week, coming out of Thanksgiving break, we go to Monco, Montgomery County Junior College. We get a lead on them, but now I'm playing in that game with my starting guard got sick over Thanksgiving break, Colin, and then my starting big got sick over Thanksgiving break as well. So then I'm going into down the stretch there with foul trouble, different things like that, and just kind of couldn't overcome that. And I think with the combination, then that would have been a good win. So with the combination of not getting that good win but getting that bad loss, I think that kind of kept us out of nationals last year.
Yeah. The final question would be, what is your most meaningful win?
I don't want to be cliche, but I'm gonna just say every day. I think it's all about every day. Obviously, when you win and we won the conference and things like that, I think I'm gonna change the answer, but I think when you win the conference, it's like a culmination of everything that you've done every single day, and I think that's got to be you can't get so wrapped up. And at IUP, one of the things Coach Lombardi used to say was the journey is the reward. So meaning the work you put in every day, that's what you got to embrace. That's what you got to love. That process, that no matter what happens at the end, you still can live with the work that you did every day. But so obviously we won the championship, but I'm just going to say being able to be here with the guys, being able to just delve into this process and do what we do every single day is kind of is the biggest win we could get. And then I'm also going to say now that I'm thinking about it, I'm going to say the first win we got against SUNY ESF in there, because without the first win you can't get any of them. So
right, got it. Okay, yeah. So Coach, thanks again. Just to close out, is there anything that you want to promote? This episode is going to be coming out next Friday, so I think they'll miss out on the team store unless you relaunch. But if there's anything you want to promote.
Yeah, so we'll have home games coming up here, right here in Newtown on Swamp Road at the school here. You can DM me at CoachRide215 on Instagram, and also you can DM. So it's Bucks.mensbball on Instagram. That's probably our best way to get in contact with me. Also, I just want everybody that's striving to either get to the next level or feel like they're underrated or just want to be a part of a team. We are always recruiting. I'm always recruiting, always looking for talented guys that can come in and help us right away. One thing we're going to do is be very transparent. If I see you and I feel like you need a lot of work, maybe you can come in and be a practice team player for us. And if I see you and you're an instant impact player, I'll let you know that as well. And and opportunities will be there for that as well. So So if you want to get recruited, just reach out to us, and let's be in. If you want to get recruited, just reach out to me. Reach out to Bucks on Instagram, Bucks Men's Basketball on Instagram, Coach Rod 215 on Instagram, and just continue to stay tuned to us. Right now, we got off to a rough start this season, 3-7. We got a lot of basketball left to play, coming down the stretch, and I'm pretty sure we'll turn it around. So let's just stick with us, and thank you for having me.
No.
Also, just want. If you're a colleague of mine at a 4-year school and you're looking for guys that are well coached, guys that are winners, guys that can play, I just want you to know that we have them here. I'll be sending film around. One guy we have, Jaden Fogg, he's a 6'7", skilled big guy, looking for opportunity, looking for a scholarship, but also will qualify for some academic scholarships as well. We have Brendan O'Reilly, another sophomore of ours. Sharpshooter, sniper, will have good grades, and as well as Jaquez Heath, who's also one of our better players. So they're my sophomores, but also I always tell all my freshmen, like, if you can get recruited now, get recruited, and I think we do have some that can help teams at the next level. So once again, if you want to get in contact with any of our players, you can email me, farad.mclaughlin@bucks.edu, or you can reach out via Instagram as well.
Of course. Thanks again.
Thanks. Appreciate you, bro.